I've been a farmer, and I've walked this journey of farming, and I see motivational speakers on podcasts, and I made my first million. It's never easy as they tell you on the podcast. It's not a place you resign to go. It's not something you pick a huge loan. I tell people, don't pick a huge loan to go do farming. You're messing yourself up. So farming is not something you pick loans to pump money into farming. There's a lot of factors that are not in your control, like rain. You're not controlling rain. Na ushachukua loan unangoja mvua inyeshe.
These loans that they're giving farmers, number one, that is not enough for a farmer. It puts you into a debt trap because you're undercapitalizing the enterprise that you're trying to do. And if you undercapitalize, that means you won't meet your objective in terms of yields, which means you can't sell yield, da. The question here, and I've always asked all these, the Apollos, the Wanikas, all these other guys, what's the true measurement of impact in terms of, are you helping this farmer move from an eighth to half an acre to an acre to 2 acres to mechanization to blah, blah, blah?
Anything that comes through the government, it's a PPP. It's just a polite name for corruption. Because as per our constitution, this is what the government is mandated to do for the people. Security, education, health, food supply, all those things are mentioned in the constitution. So the inefficiency of the government, of the inability of the government to do what it's supposed to do, they mitigate it by bringing in PPP.
We can't be talking about trying to be a first world country, do all these things, and still people can't afford food. Farmers can't afford fertilizer. I think we spoke the last time. I was saying people always come to me about agri-tech, and I'm always like, I can't ask someone to download an app if they can't afford what the app is telling them to do. What's the point?
All right, guys, before we get into the conversation, allow me to give a quick shout out to our friends at FarmSentry.ai. Now, been following this podcast for a while now, you know that I'm a huge believer in treating your farm as a business. And this is one of the biggest problems I see a lot of farmers have, is that they don't take their farm seriously. You see them running the farms using WhatsApp groups, maybe phone calls, and just relying on the memory to keep their basic data. And this is why they almost always run their farms to the ground. Enter FarmSentry.ai. FarmSentry is a farm management platform that helps you really keep your records, manage your crops and livestock, plan your farm activities, track your expenses, and most importantly, it shows you if your farm is making money or not, all through your phone. Now, my favorite feature by far is the diagnostics tool. Let's say you're working on the farm and you see a leaf that doesn't look quite right, like this one, for example. All you have to do is just open your FarmSentry app, tap the diagnosis, take a photo, and ask the question, what's wrong with my leaf? And within seconds, FarmSentry analyzes the image, identifies the likely problem, and recommends what action you should take. And just like that, you are no longer guessing. And that is the power of AI right in your pocket. Right now, FarmSentry is offering a 30-day free trial. All you have to do is head over to FarmSentry.ai or simply search FarmSentry, that is Farm, S-E-N-T-R-Y, on Google Play Store or App Store. And you get to experience all these amazing features within FarmSentry. And when you like it, which I'm sure you would, be sure to use my coupon code ORGANICGUY for a 20% off. That is Organic Guy for a 20% off. All right, let's get into the conversation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the top. Welcome to the Organic Perspective. This is a segment where we get to go through some of the biggest news-making headlines in the world of agriculture. And today is no different. We've got very interesting topics that I want us to go through. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to some of you guys who took a minute and give us some of the feedback, especially on YouTube. We've got Ben Johnson, who says that I appreciate your program. The issues you discussed are very important. I live in the US and I have watched American poison and pollute the food supply here across the world for years. The ladies on your programs were very knowledgeable. I think I can agree with that as well. And then we have David Gachoka, who says our soils are pretty dead because overuse of synthetic fertilizers, use of herbicides and pesticides, and the monocropping of our farms. And then there's Lakeside Farm, who says, at least you guys are talking about GMO food issue in Uganda. Our heads are in the sand. Well, I would say pretty much you guys are in a better position because you have banned GMOs. So here we still need to do with that. Today we are also joined by a guest on the podcast. Maybe not a guest because he's been on the podcast before. He goes by the name of Calvin Kamau. Welcome to the pod, man.
It's good to be back. What has happened?
Yes, it's actually been exactly 1 year since the last time we talked.
Okay.
And your podcast actually is one of my, I think, second most watched podcasts. And we titled that podcast as You Turn Idle Lands into Money-Making Farms. So I guess a lot of people related to that. And that sort of made me say maybe there's a lot of guys who have farms and they're just sitting there, they don't know what to do with it. Do you ever get such a question? Like, do you guys come to you and say, you know what, I have this like idle piece of land, can you help me with it?
All the time. Kenyans were very entrepreneurial. So they're always looking to figure out how to make that extra shilling. So there's always people looking or seeking people out for information and stuff. And by the way, information is free. So for me, I always get people in the DM. I have lots of coffees with different people. And the thing is, I'm also learning because I'm understanding what the market needs are, what's going on, because they've done some research that I haven't done. So it would be very foolish of me to think that even though I've spent quite a number of years in agriculture, that I know everything.
Yeah.
So having a coffee with somebody, or phone call, a chat, goes a long way.
Great to see that. I mean, last time it's important you talk, like you sort of pivoted from what you were doing, like you're managing people's land and now you're doing it by yourself. We'll get to talk more about that as well in terms of, we have I think a topic here that involves large scale production. I'll be looking forward to your thoughts about that and what we can do to improve it. I'm also joined by my co-host Mary Kathomi. Mary, welcome. Of course, thank you very much for making time again for the podcast. I've got very interesting topics that I want us to go through. Quickly, just to go through some of these topics. Of course, there's this one on the Galana Kulalu project. It's been, believe it or not, 13 years since this project was launched back in 2013. And now the government says they're looking for a PPP model, so public-private partnership, to sort of keep it going. We'll have a look at that and think, Calvin, you give us some insights here on what is actually the government doing wrong in terms of managing this project. Secondly, we talk about farmers are demanding that the government lift a ban on macadamia nuts export. So the government had banned people from exporting raw macadamia nuts, but apparently the farmers are not happy with that. They want the government to lift that. We'll talk about that. And soon, in October to December, there is a warning that we will likely to see El Niño in Kenya. So if you are a farmer, how can you actually prepare for that? And then in business perspective, we have Apollo Agriculture has raised over 270 million Kenya shillings. That's a lot of money. We'll move into the US. Farmers are rejecting multi-million-dollar deals for their land. The big tech guys, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, are looking for land, and they want somewhere to keep their data centers. Yeah. So we'll have a look at that and why are farmers saying no to that. So those are the topics we'll have a look at. Hopefully we'll be done in the next few minutes. Which one of this has caught your eye, you think?
This Galana. But Galana, because also I've been following it quite closely since Selu took over. Selu, the ownership of Selu is also the ownership of Twiga Foods before. So there's a very interesting twist in that. There's that, and also Apollo Agriculture. Those are things I think.
Cool. I think we should start with the Galana Kulalu. So the Galana Kulalu irrigation scheme, which is located in the coastal region of Kilifi and Tana River counties, is being revitalized under a public-private partnership model. Speaking on the initiative, PS Omolo said that the food security is an integral part of the country's security agenda, noting that a well-fed nation is a SK1 nation. At the center of the scheme is fertigation. This is a new word I also got to learn, which is implemented via Advanced Center Pivot Irrigation Technology. Currently, there are 9 pivot systems that are operational, with plans to expand it to 23 pivots to cover an initial 3,000 acres. The project supports the cultivation of key staples and commercial crops, including maize, onions, and cassava. So the expansion is set to continue rapidly, with the scheme acreage expected to reach about 6,000 and later scale up to 20,000 in the initial phase. The project forms part of Kenya's broad efforts to expand irrigation, improve domestic food production in the country's arid and semi-arid areas. Yeah. So, as we mentioned earlier, this project has been going since 2013, 13 years later. The government hasn't quite gotten things right. What are they doing wrong?
Well, first of all, I think a project like Galana is, it has to happen. It has to work, right? It's important. So they're on the right track on that. I keep saying, you need to feed your population before you start thinking about stadiums. You start thinking about anything else. That is the bare minimum. Even when you're looking at Maslow's hierarchy, the first thing is physiological needs: safety, shelter, food, all that stuff. So that's correct. Now, I don't know what has happened in the last those 13 years. What has made it stagnate? But I do know. What I do know is that it's an expensive project because of the irrigation part. Yeah. Even when they launched it, and our government is very gung-ho in launching projects and cutting ribbons before other things have been put in place. And that's where they get into trouble sometimes, because they really want the flashing lights and everything and the headlines before they've actually done some groundwork and stuff like that. So that's one part. But also, things like water, there was not enough water for the 20,000. You can imagine how much water you need to irrigate 20,000 acres. On top of that, I don't think that area is connected to the grid. That was also another issue. So then you have anybody who's coming in for a PPP situation probably needs to build their own power plant. So your solar plant and stuff like that, to be able to run this stuff, because everything runs on energy, right? As we all know. On top of that, you can't escape the reality of private interest. If Galana comes online the way it's supposed to come online, there are a couple of people or entities that will also suffer if not aligning. It's just Nukweli too. So the same way like SGR came and the truckers pushed back because that was going to be an issue. So that usually makes things go a bit slower. The other thing, because I did interact with the current, there's one company called Selu that's doing farming for maize there. I don't know if there are others, but that's the one I know. Yeah. And I wanted to buy maize because we have a big appetite for maize. We have clients who are looking for a lot of maize. And one thing I didn't know is, so when I spoke to their representative there, he told me, we're not doing maize right now, we're doing maize seed. Because if we mop up the seed that's in the country for 20, we are basically going to, the smallholder farmer is going to suffer. There's not going to be enough seed. So now working backwards, going back to the cutting of the ribbons, there are some things that they hadn't thought about before the launching. So, I mean, I think it will be a game changer when it comes online. I think they will produce at a cheaper rate than anybody else just because of economies of scale. But also, guys, remember, irrigation schemes are not, this is not unique. This is not the first time we're doing. There's Ahero, there's in Kirinyaga, Mwea, there's, So these are not unique things, right? So if you've been in the agricultural space, the story of irrigation schemes and how they came and went, because even though we are trying to produce cheaper, but we are importing so much, then you kill whatever you're trying to do in-house.
So I'm hearing you say there was a challenge of infrastructure.
Yeah.
There's like people, yes, you've set up, but you don't have electricity, you don't have like good roads to get into that place. So the government had already spent 14 billion on this project, believe it or not.
But Brian, if you don't plan well, the 14 billion will feel like you've just thrown it away, because that means you're throwing X amount. Then you realize, oh, sorry, we had to do this before. So whatever that X amount, somebody I heard yesterday, I don't mention I was listening to JKL, and somebody said government is a bad businessman, which is true. Because, also, to be honest, it's not their money. Does that make sense? If it's me and you doing biashara, if somebody tells me, oh, sorry, we bought the wrong seed, we were supposed to buy hybrid ABCD, and the agrovet has said they can't take it back, I'd be pissed. You'd be pissed. Government is, okay, let's continue. Go buy the other one.
Yeah. So there's no ownership, like there's no agency, it's not their money.
For me, anything that comes through the government, it's a PPP. It's just a polite name for corruption. Even the laws that they've passed in Parliament, PPPs on water, there are so many PPPs going on. It's just a politically acceptable word for corruption. Because as per our constitution, this is what the government is mandated to do for the people. Security, education, health, food supply, all those things are mentioned in the constitution. So the inefficiency of the government, of the inability of the government to do what it's supposed to do, they mitigate it by bringing in PPP. Like they were supposed to provide water, make sure Kenyans have water. Now that they can't give Kenyans water, they come in with a PPP law, a bill in Parliament. Why? Their failure, they mitigate it with a PPP. We discussed it here the other day, Brian. This is a Galactic dialect where you create a problem and then the problem simmers and simmers and simmers. Then you come with a solution. But you cause the problem because there's a lot of things that don't make sense in this country. And they are so basic. I don't know why the more basic things are, the more we want to shy away from them. It is so simple. NCPB, give farmers a good price. Kenyans are very entrepreneurial. Give good prices for maize. See how many Kenyans are going to do maize. Small-scale farmers. Zero rate taxes on food production. It is so simple. Like, to me, government ministries are not sincere when it comes to solutions they offer the country. So, when you mentioned here with Kevin and you said, the base is already so wrong. So even when you come in with an investor, the foundation of the whole thing is already so wrong. The Galana Kulalu is a beautiful project. I would love to see there. But it's another Uchumi supermarket. It's just a where people siphon money, and you're like, oh, it was not viable, we close that. But when you look at the intentions, they're not genuine intentions. I'm telling you, Kenyans, just show them where shillings are. All of them will be going there. Kenyans know where shillings are. You won't even, just give them a good condition. And we have a perfect example with Burkina Faso. Zero tax food production. Don't do anything. Just don't tax the machinery. Make power affordable. Don't have excessive taxes on any farm input. Uone vile wakulima watafanya. You won't even show them what to do. And then when we have a bumper harvest, when we can feed our population, we will export as much as we can. We will do now partnerships with these foreign companies that come in. To me, it is the lack of genuineness in when they do things. For me, this is just a corruption. Mahali tu pesa inaingia itatoka. Kama ya uchumi. If you study uchumi, it's sunk with a lot of billions,
The uchumi thing is what I don't get, because I think even now it's actually listed in the NSE. And I was told the reason why it's listed is because it has valuable assets like land and stuff. So if they actually decided today want to sell all that land, it can still coop enough money to give it to the investors.
Because I see them trying to come back up, yeah? It's nostalgic for us guys here, but then for the other guys, nobody Like, I don't think they can compete. Then just become something else. You don't have, why are you struggling to do retail? I mean, I don't think you're not going to catch up to Naivas.
Yeah, right now, I mean, the whole reason why they started is because at that time, there weren't no enough entrepreneurs are willing to put up the infrastructure, to go to other places for guys to come and shop, But now we have a lot of entrepreneurs. The Carrefour are now in the market, the Quick Marts. So there's a lot of them, and I don't think them going into the market now, they will be able to compete. So may as well close shop. But I guess, as you say, there's a lot of competing interests.
Even picking up on what Kevin said, the problem we have in this country, we don't have people. He was trying to explain why government is bad business people and like a personal relationship. It's like me and him doing business. Actually, we haven't had leaders in this country who genuinely love this country. We don't have. So most of the people that we call leaders, our politicians, our technocrats, all of them, the dealers, the wheeler dealers, no one genuinely loves this country. To sit in a table and make sober decisions that benefit this country. So that's why they throw away resources, they make bad decisions. Genuinely, no one cares, is Kenya losing? No one cares. Atuna how leaders bado.
And I guess that ability to take that responsibility and say, if this thing fails, it has a dent on me. If I lose money here, then it's my money. So like having that patriotism, like that statesmanship, that you need to actually care about a project is what we are lacking from a lot of these leaders. I mentioned earlier that they have spent 14 billion Kenya shillings so far. I think this is up until 2015. So I was trying to do the math. What if we could take that money and actually invest in small-scale farmers? So, and, I did the math, and what it came to show is that if we could take that 14 billion and actually invest it in the farmers, an average, let's say a solar-powered irrigation system cost about 15,000. So if we could take that money and buy 15,000 solar-powered irrigation kits and distribute it to farmers, you would give, let's say, 1 million smallholder farmers, right? So, and then let's say like 50% of them will fail, right? They won't use it and stuff. I think that's still a good investment to make, because you could have these like that, when the government was talking about bottom-up approach. And I think at that point, then you are empowering a lot more farmers than just going in the bottom-down sort of approach of saying, we're going to set up this huge sort of irrigation scheme. Then after that, we're going to produce a bumper harvest and we'll be able to feed people. And sort of that got me thinking, if you were given an opportunity in this project, would you invest in?
Well, it depends. There's so many variables, man. Because the thing is, do I believe in the project? Yes, 100%. Who are the drivers of the project? Leave the politicians. Which director, who is this person that I have to deal with day to day? Now that is the person who would make me decide whether to invest in it or not. Because if I believe in the project but I don't believe in the driver of the project, then there's a problem. You see, I can believe in the destination. But then if I'm getting into a matatu here and I smell some alcohol in the driver's breath, just because I want to go to Kawangware, I'll be like, shukisha. Until another car comes, another vehicle comes that I trust. Because the destination, I still want to go there. Until somebody else who I trust will drive that, then I can be like, okay, fine, let's go. So that's the thing. You have to be able to see all the different things. But even before, let me tell you, this country has amazing projects, yeah? But they don't talk about. I remember even before Selu was given the what do you call it? Is it a mandate or the permission to farm or whatever, I don't know what it's called. That thing that had a lot of issues also. We were looking for land to lease. And part of the places we went is Galana and Bura irrigation scheme also. For Galana, when we spoke to the government agency, we were told no, talk to Selu to see if they can give you hire you something. And then Selu was like, no, this is government. So it became quite complicated. But, and I don't know if that was somebody playing defense in terms of it's only us guys who are doing this. But in all these schemes, you see, government creates the playing field in terms of, okay, they have connected the water, security, the roads, A, B, C, D. Then people like us, Tukalime, can come and farm for what we need to do, right? So we are always looking for that. I've been following this. Government has a thing called, when the current administration came in, they identified land that can be leased. Lots of public land. Prisons sits on a lot of land. Schools sit on a lot of land. And so something that was very, it can be a game changer. They said, okay, we'll put titles on all this land, we'll measure it. And then there are people who can come and set up industry, farming, and what have you. But it has still never taken off to where it should be. So sometimes it's so simple, as you said, taxes. Well, because they keep saying, the policy framework has not been developed. Yet, we saw when we wanted to impeach a government official, how quick it can happen. You see what I'm saying? So when you come and tell me the policy framework has still not been created, I'm like, no, but we've seen you in action when you really want to make something work.
It goes back to the urgency. Like, is there someone who is willing to shoulder this urgency or like take responsibility if something goes wrong?
And you see, the thing is, it's always about it's political capital. So when you come into power, you have this political capital, goodwill, da. So you have to choose how to use it, right? And if you use it in the wrong way, then it becomes harder as your term continues, because then you can't do some things, because now nobody wants to listen to you. You already pissed me off month one, But you're right, in terms of the priority matrix is very skewed.
I didn't realize how big this project is until I saw some figures here. It's a 1.75 million hectares project. So to put that into perspective, this is like the entire of Kiambu and Nakuru County combined. So that's how big that place is. And it wouldn't be a complete project before we actually talk about corruption. And of course, there were guys there who actually came in and stole, but walichigaguya kashamba kao from the project, and you know how it happens in Kenya. So, like, moving forward, Mary, if the CS called you today and is like, we have this Galana Kulalu project, we've been running it for a while. What do you think we should do? What is the best advice that you can give to them?
I would say the first thing is the goodwill. When there's the goodwill in a project, there's transparency in how those projects are being run. That is everything. They call it national interest. What is our national interest as a country? Because actually those are embedded in the Constitution. What is our national interest? What comes first? Is it profits? Is it stability? Is it what are we looking into? So for me, the Galana Kulalu, beautiful, awesome project. I've been talking to some ADC people. Whether you listen to the ADC senior officials, they genuinely do good projects. They are into good stuff. They have lands in Konza, they have lands all over. And they're sort of the custodian of the government in terms of agriculture outlets. And you see, they have good intentions. But Upper Jew, as you said, politics is everything. We might downplay politics, but politics play a big part into these things. So we have the ability of feeding this country and exporting. We have the volcanic soils, we have good weathers, we have places we can tap energy to do these things. We just lack that political goodwill. They say the Constitution is a piece of paper, but there's what we call the spirit of the Constitution. This is the spirit of the Constitution. When we talk about the chapter of integrity, we can read it in words, but there's a spirit of it. What's the spirit of that particular thing? So what I'm saying, it is doable, it is noble when you look at those projects on paper, noble projects. And we just need to be intentional. I would only say, what I would say is that we become very intentional when we want to fix a problem. Let's be intentional about fixing those problems.
Absolutely. And when the project started, the government was saying, you know what, we're going to go in, we're going to do everything. But now in 2023, when Ruto came in, the government was like, you know what, we're going to switch and go into the PPP model. You talked a little bit about what Selu was doing. The original idea was, we're going to put this big project, we're going to grow maize, and it's going to, feed our hungry population. Right now, in a PPP model, Selu has come in and said, leave that aside, we want to produce seeds. So from that PPP, then, from that model, then it sort of like negates the original idea of what was trying to do.
But in their defense, the thing is there's just not enough seed for that size of a project in the country. So they will do maize. Well, I hope so, because I don't sit in their board or anything. But they had to take a step back to be able to produce that seed. Yes, they're going to sell a bit because cash flows are everything still. And then now produce. Now the question becomes, hopefully they don't get infiltrated, if they haven't yet been infiltrated, to where they change the model completely to something else. Because seed is big business.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking actually. Because now for them, if they go that way, then they have like a contract. They can go to Kenya Seed and they're like, we have this piece of land, we can give you this amount of seeds. Just give us the contract. I mean, from a business perspective, it makes sense for them to do that. But from a wider sort of country, as in the original purpose of why the project was set up, I think they have deviated from that. And that's basically my worry of the PPP model. It just goes against the original spirit and idea of why the project was started in the first place. Because even when you look, I think they also gave another company from the UAE who wants to do livestock feed. So they want to grow massive tracts of land of the maize, and then they can sell it as livestock feed. So from that area, I think that's where we lose a little bit of the original spirit. And it makes a little bit harder to explain to us as taxpayers on why we should continue funding such a project as well. Something we didn't talk about, or I wanted, maybe you can also touch a little bit about this, is like the local communities. Because as you mentioned, it's a massive piece of land. It borders Kilifi and I think Tana River. So there's neighboring communities there. And of course, we have environmental issues, right? So in this case, they're going to use, of course, pesticides, artificial fertilizers, which are going to sort of sieve into River Tana and then goes to downstream. So they are like communities there that are going to be affected by this project. And I think this is something we hammer a lot about this government, is there's no public participation. How is the local communities going to benefit from this? So if you are like a local organizer, local communities, what is the best way to approach such a project?
When you even look at the source of the water, the rivers, these are rivers that are supposed to actually support the communities around there. And for such a massive irrigation scheme, that's the natural water source that they're going to tap. And most of the communities around there are also very pastoralistic communities. There's a lot of camels, goats, in that whole environment. And without proper consulting and building the project right from grassroots with public participation of the communities, there's meant to be a lot of crash in there, And this is a commercial venture. I feel like this something, I don't know. This is where I sit, but I feel like we lost it. It sounds more of a business venture for me now. It stepped away from being a national issue, a Kenyan issue, and you even wonder, why are taxes even going into this project? Why is public money going here? This is now looking like a profit-motivated. When it's already a profit-motivated venture, we are losing a lot of the cream or the beauty of that project. And if we step back to nationalistic Kenyan thing, then we incorporate the communities, we talk to the communities, we look at the effects on the rivers and such, which is already a major thing. So we already have case studies in other places. So for me, I think it is, I'm sorry to say this, governments don't do what they were meant to do. Governments are proxies, they are brokers. We lost it. There's a place we need a national conversation of Who is government? What is government supposed to do? Why is government even getting into these projects in the first place? Because there's a disconnect right there, And we are discussing this project, but there are so many like it. That the communities are up in arms. What is the government? Because we were not consulted, and the effects on the community is heavy, and the financial burden on the taxpayer. So we pump a lot of tax money, but do we as a country benefit? Or someone is making huge profits, do those profits seep back to the system? It's a very messed up conversation we are supposed to be having, because we forgot about the people. Is the government benefiting the people? We are doing such a massive project, Kevin, but we've already opened huge doors for imports. Yeah. So then you ask yourself, okay, fine, we are doing these big projects. Will this maize be exported? Or is it for the local market? Is it going to compete with the imports? A lot of questions there, but if you ask me, this being a government project, it needs to be relooked even by Parliament. It needs to be discussed in Parliament. We need a law to guide, because I think we've given a lot of power to the executive, and they've messed around with corporations like ADC, which falls under the Ministry of Agriculture. Like, people just do things, tufanye tu, kuna pesa itaingia kwa mfuko ya mtu, but we've completely forgotten about the communities. And we've actually forgotten what was the purpose of that project.
It happens, I think, in politics, we don't have people who are looking the long term. It's like 5 years, the next 5 years, what I'm going to do. And if I get in the next 5 years, well and good. If I don't, that's still okay. I could have still made my back as well. But I think the original idea of the project was a noble idea, but then now I think the execution has been a disaster, and then the accountability is not there, and I think from that point of view we have to relook at it and say, is this really working for us, or is this another channel for us to pump money? I want us to move into the next topic, and this time I want us to touch a little bit about macadamia farmers. They are a little bit complaining, and this is an interesting story because I think we've been talking about this, but let me read about it. And this is a story from the Daily Nation. It says, farmers in macadamia growing counties want the government to lift the ban on export of unprocessed nuts, saying that local buyers are offering low prices for their produce. The Ministry of Agriculture banned export of in-shell nuts in 2009. Which was expected to build capacity for local processing and create jobs. Section 43 of the AFA prohibits the export of macadamia and cashew nuts in their raw form. So the CS, who is in charge of agriculture, can, however, open an export window, as it happened in 2023 when the Finca Linturi was the CS. In 2016, the ban was also lifted for 6 months. So farmers in Embu, Muranga, Kirinyaga, Nyeri, and Meru now say that the law is discriminative to growers, arguing that they cannot dispose their produce profitably. Mr. Charles Mwangi, who is a farmer in Nyeri, said that his 10 tons are rotting in the store as he waits for processors to offer better prices. Currently, there are about 30 processing farms operating in the country. The current prices of 50 and 80 Kenya shillings per kilo is not favorable to us. I sell my produce at that price. I will incur huge losses. So export pay up to 200 Kenya shillings per kilo, and then with my 10 tons, I will earn some good money. This is one of those policies, I guess, we want as citizens, or sounds good, but then it looks like it's not working for the farmers. And I think it's fair to say farmers will always want something that is going to pay them a lot of money.
Yeah, just listening to it, I'm just like, something is off in terms of, so there are certain reasons why government will ban exports. Either people are harvesting when it's too young, that spoils the image of the country because then it's made in Kenya, but the quality is low. There's quite a bit. And sometimes they're banning exports because they're trying to shore up the prices also. So I'm trying to figure out, in that article, you see the biggest buyers of macadamia, I believe it's the Chinese companies and nationals, because they use a lot. We don't use a lot of macadamia in-house in the country. And they buy quite a bit. Now, I ask my fellow farmers, sometimes is there agreed where even if tukubaliana tuseme we're going to sell at 200, are you going to stick to it? Are you going to stick to it? Or if somebody comes in and says, I want to buy everything, right now, will you sell to me at 50 bob? Most guys will sell at 50 bob. The reason why the brokers still exist today and why contract farming is the most scariest thing ever is because contract farmers, if you sign contracts with farmers, over 60% this person will side sell if somebody else comes at a different price, right? And not only a higher price, but if somebody comes with cash now, because maybe they need it now. The company they have signed with is you supply, then we'll pay you after 30 days. Somebody comes with a canter, buys. So to be honest, yes, farmers in the macadamia situation, because macadamia, the prices tanked, they're correct. But I think it's because also everybody was just buying everything that was in the market. So everything just went...
I'm actually, like you, Kevin, I'm just trying to think. This whole thing is a bit messed up. Yeah. So I'm thinking it's a skewed business. At the end of the day, it's a market. As much as we want the country image, quality, the Ministry of Agriculture should have quality checks. When... I just get so pissed off by this Ministry of Agriculture. When they say farmers are doing early harvesting, who does the quality checks for the macadamia harvested? Is it private entities or is there a government entity? Does the government have structures in macadamia producing areas whereby they are doing quality check? Like we discussed about Kakuzi here, the avocados, they're getting a lot of money from avocados, but they have a stringent quality check for export. Do we have the same for macadamia? And the question is, I feel they're being unfair to the farmer because a farmer wants a shilling. At the end of the day, the farmer wants a shilling. It is the responsibility of the government to make sure the product exported or the product that reaches the market is in good quality, first of all. So there is collusion here between the local processors and the government officials. For me, a market is a market. Let all factors of the market play out well and let the farmer benefit. So you see there are those intrigues. And when we make policies in agriculture, sometimes we forget farmers are also business people. Yeah. They want to make a shilling out of it.
Yeah, I think the idea behind it is well meant because the whole idea is like, okay, guys, we're not going to export our products raw. Yeah. We want to process them fast and then export them, right? That's like a really good, noble idea to do.
If it was really noble from the government side of it, they would encourage the farmers to have like cooperative societies like coffee have and tea have. When macadamia farmers have a cooperative societies, you see, our problems are so simple. Okay, they look complex when you think about them, but they are simple. If these farmers are encouraged to come together in cooperative societies, is it rocket science to process macadamia? It is easy to process macadamia. Get support. Yeah. The farmers themselves will control the price. But now, ushasikia kuna cooperative society Kenya, ama Kenya tuko na processing ya cooperative hapa Kenya. Ushaisikia? Hakuna. So it's now business people who come, who put up together processing. Yeah. And who are they? They are in for profits. So I think when we look at a problem in the large, look at the whole problem, what is the solution? It's not in the complexity of the solution. It is on the workable solutions. Let's have cooperative societies for macadamia farmers. Let them have representation all the way up in the Ministry of Agriculture. Let the government encourage local processing. Let the farmers export. Even do a percentage. Let's do 40% process. Let's do 60% export. Then you've thought through the entire chain.
So they're saying the processors here, then they're happy because they are buying it cheap. And then the farmer is saying, no, we don't want to sell to these guys because they are suppressing, but then we can sell directly outside. And then, but then government is like value addition because there's a VAT component, there's a tax situation. So, yeah, you have the referee also having interest in this. So I doubt that the farmer is going to get a fair shake in this.
I mean, from the look of it, there's a lot of things you can get from the macadamia itself. I mean, they're talking about skin oil, of course, cooking oil. Apparently, it's very good in terms of it has a high smoke point, like its boiling point is about 200 degrees and stuff, so it's very good for cooking as well. It can make, of course, fertilizers. The husks can be put for fertilizers. So, I mean, the idea of processing is pretty good, but in the long game or in the end, the farmer wants, where can I sell my products the highest price? And that happens to be the export.
That's pretty good. And allow me to go into the next topic. And this one is on the El Nino. So currently the government, well, not the government, but the World Meteorological Organization says that there is a 90% chance that El Nino conditions will develop in the second half of the year. In Kenya, the phenomenon is expected to begin in October and December short rains. El Nino is a naturally occurring climate pattern caused by warmer than normal sea surface temperatures in the Pacific Ocean. In East Africa, it's commonly associated with above average rainfall increases in the risk of flooding, landslide, and diseases outbreak. It also has positive effects, of course, including replenishing the dams, improving water supplies, and supporting agriculture in some regions. Locations that are mostly affected in the 1997 and 98 El Nino rains were also heavily affected in the 23 and 24 rains. These areas include the Lake Victoria Basin, Rift Valley, Nairobi County, southeastern lowlands, the coastal region of the country, and in the northeastern Kenya. So I'm wondering, especially for you, for someone who is in the agricultural business, when you get such a news, does it change your calculation on what you're going to plan for this period?
Do you know, the last 2 seasons, we haven't planted in the short rain period. So that October, November, December. Just because it's very hard to plan. I remember last year, it pretty much rained like once or twice, and that was it. Lost a big crops. And also the year before that, the short rains. So for me, as our company, we don't plan usually with the short rains. We plan starting land prep in December, January, in preparation for the long rains, which you saw the long rains also this year came way earlier than anybody predicted, so it got people flat-footed. However, when I think about it, because I also think about now, your neighbors, your smallholder farmers, and everybody else, there are ways to mitigate. Although this is an act of God, so there's only so much you can do. We don't know exactly. The weatherman is always that person who'll tell you, it could. And if it doesn't happen, and they're like, nowadays in Nairobi, you carry a jacket, umbrella, gumboots, you don't know what's going to happen. But, in terms of land preparation, you have to make sure that you have irrigation channels, how you plow across a gradient, or, because you don't want to plow within the gradient, then the water is just taking everything with your stuff. Raised beds, not sunken beds, because you want, as you're creating those gullies, the rain is flowing, so there are ways of doing it. I think in some of these things, you probably will have yourself to blame, which is quite unfortunate, because nobody's coming to save you. But it's important to note that we're not telling people not to farm, because, we all benefit. Cost of food and everything has to happen. It's just that now, with the flag being waved, that means you just have to approach with caution and make sure even the variety of seeds or even the crops that you're planting, there are some crops that don't like too much rain. They don't like too much water. So you have to now adjust accordingly, even when you're doing fertilizer, because sometimes you put fertilizer and it's washed away, all of it, So there's parts that now you have to think about, how am I spreading it? There are guys who do broadcasting of fertilizer. Is that the way to do it? No, probably not.
And I hope this doesn't become, I think there's that meme that says Selkari's idea. I hope this doesn't result to that. We've been given a humble time, I guess, to prepare for the El Nino. Then the government should be able to do its part at least, right? In terms of, hey, warning people, if you're living like in a high or like a place that is more likely to sort of have a landslide, just get off that. And we don't get to El Nino time when we're like, oh, oops, it's here, guys. What should we do?
Let me say this, Brian. I wish our parliament could be doing more. There's a lot of weather altering techniques have been happening in Kenya. A lot of chemtrails have been happening in Kenya. I would expect our members of parliament calling the meteorological departments to audit what exactly happens in Kenya. These things are happening. And the fact that they don't talk about them in parliament, they don't, we had a plane doing rounds in Kajiado. They were actually scanning for minerals across this country. Planes all over with equipment. They're just doing aerial scanning of minerals in this country. I would have expected such a thing is discussed like in parliament or even at the cabinet level. It's public information. Because the public is going to say these things. And these things are all over social media and like, hey, nini inaendelea huku. So there's a lot of speculation. Israel has donated a whole consignment of weather technique equipments. What are they doing here in Kenya? Those are the conversations we should be hearing. I am not underplaying the warning of El Nino. If it's a natural phenomenon, it could happen. And of course, the biggest impact is in the urban centers. We don't have very good drainages in Kenya. Actually, the biggest is the flooding of slums, informal settlements, and that it would be a big disaster. Even for farmers, people like us who are in rural areas, of course our lands are messed up. The crop is messed up. Sometimes I ask when they say, at Kenyans, get prepared. So, tulikuwa tufanye nini? Sometimes I just want us to have like a one. When the government tells people, be prepared for El Nino, what are we supposed to do? Build gabions, maybe? Yes. Choose a different crop. If we were supposed to do maize, do another crop. And when I tell you that the conversations we are supposed to be having in our parliament are supposed to be real conversations. These are the conversations Ministry of Agriculture should be talking with people. They would be doing public forums. Yes, we are expecting El Nino. Yes, what do farmers do? Awajui.
This conversation should be like, this is coming. What are we doing? Yeah. And then we have, the minister comes and says, Then we have the next month, have we done what we said we are doing? What else? So by the time it gets to October, first of all, the same way we hear about our politics and Linda this and Linda that and whatever, now we are all just being like, okay, guys, now we are set. But also there's a lack of empathy. Yeah? I mean, we all have a friend or somebody we know who's in politics or in government, and there's a thing that I don't understand. There's a glaze over them sometimes. Yeah. I sometimes I say this and I'm like, when you look at their eyes, like there's darkness. No, and I'm saying this in terms of, I don't know, is it because that they have so much information or they've seen or heard so much that they've now become numb? Yeah. It's like a mortician who's just like, okay, yes, your person passed away, we've taken care of them. Mnakuja kuchukua mwili lini? It's no feelings. So I don't know if it's a trait. And people ask me, would you ever want to be political? Like, never. Because I want to still have that humanity, Because otherwise, the last flood we had, and everybody saw the response and everything else, and I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me, guys. What do you mean? Huh? There's a thing, even if you're doing it for the camera, even when you get out of your house and go in your car and try to get one lady, one kid, one whatever, it goes a long way for people to be like, Yenya, you care. But you can't show up afterwards and say, I was getting reports. Yeah, I spoke to a command team. You guys are dead.
You see what Kevin is talking about, and you've seen how governors are grilled by senators on budgets and everything. That's what we'd be expecting. MPs, or I think it falls in the parliament. That's the kind of grilling they would be grilling, like the PS of agriculture. Like, we're expecting El Nino. What are we doing? What have we done? Have we taught the public? They should take these things serious. They don't take these things serious. Look at the Solai Dam that, oh my goodness, like, you know what? See nothing, hear nothing. That kind of an attitude and move on. Yeah. And then they throw this, El Nino is coming. There are a lot of conversations we're supposed to be having as a country. And let me tell you, Brian, when we have honest conversations as a country, ile mtabomoa kila kitu mwanze kujenga tena, because there's a lot of rebuilding we need to do. Because I don't know what our leaders are doing in those big offices with big budgets in parliament. What are they doing? They are more invested in selling foreign agendas than the people. Like, they shut themselves away from Kenyans. They like completely shut themselves from what Kenyans are going through, and they're now pushing foreign agendas, foreign policies, things that don't work, things that don't make sense, like chipping our animals. A whole CS does a video about how we're supposed to be chipping our cows, and I'm like, oh my goodness. How many cows from a small-scale farm are going for export in Kenya? Give us the data. Or is it the DOD, the Kenya Meat Commission, like things that are alien to us Kenyans, but those are the things they want us to discuss. So let me say, we need to have real conversations. And when you have real conversations, we develop real solutions to our problems. And our leaders are not yet there.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about those kind of, it also depends like who is the CS listening to. So maybe the people around him are the ones who are telling him, hey, this is maybe what he'll say. And in most cases, this guy is actually just read speeches. I'm not sure even they actually write them. Right? They usually have like, a personal assistant somewhere. They're like, next week you will have a conference, let's say talking about meat, and find someone to write me the report, and then they just read, right? So I think from that perspective, maybe we should have some empathy for them as well. Yeah.
No, 100%. And sometimes, I try to strike a balance where I say, okay, benefit of doubt. I hope that ex-minister, ex-governor, president, that when they are by themselves in the shower, you're not by with anybody, you're actually thinking and saying, they're not, I don't think people are inherently bad. I just think the environment and what is around you is what is sipping in you. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the biggest thing. But I always say, if I was the man behind the man or behind the woman, and let's be like, look, there are all these things, just choose 3 and do them like thorough. If your thing is insecurity, just like, that's my number 1, and I'll do health and I'll do education. I want to build a stadium, I'm sorry, it's not for me. No, I'm just saying the way I would look at it, because I'm like, if they can't even afford to, do you know this thing, this stadium that we're building? I was talking to somebody who was saying that because we are not, we're not like the other countries, the US and the UK, where there are concerts and the infrastructure can pay for itself, maintenance, whatever. How are we going to maintain this thing? And maybe somebody with a lot of initials after their name has done the mathematics, and there's a rhyme and reason. But again, for me, we can't be talking about trying to be a first world country, do all these things, and still people can't afford food. Farmers can't afford fertilizer. I think we spoke the last time. I was saying people always come to me about agri-tech, and I'm always like, I can't ask someone to download an app if they can't afford what the app is telling them to do. What's the point? But guys are raising a lot of money, which we go to the next topic. All right,
that's a very good lead-up.
Now let's talk about Apollo Agriculture. So apparently they have raised 276 million through a structured finance transaction that converts thousands of smallholder farmers' loans into securities sold to institutional investors, marking Kenya's first private sector local currency securitization in a smallholder agricultural sector. The deal allows Apollo Agriculture to sell future repayment streams from existing loan book to investors in exchange for immediate cash, freeing up capital for additional lending without increasing the leverage on the balance sheet. The transaction is backed by a pool of more than 23,000 smallholder farmers, mostly women, with an average loan size of 18,000 Kenya shillings. So the agri-finance company provides credit alongside farm inputs, insurance, agronomic support using machine learning models, fancy, and also satellite data to assess borrowers' risk in a segment typically considered too fragmented and data poor for institutional finance.
There are those things you want to say, teacher. Just continue. So I'm going to maintain my.
Which part caught your eye most? I think we should start.
You should have told us to come with a notepad and whatever. Just be like, okay. Point number 1. These loans that they're giving farmers, right? 18K. Number one, that is not enough for a farmer, to be honest. It's a drop. It puts you into a debt trap because you're undercapitalizing the enterprise that you're trying to do. And if you undercapitalize, that means you won't meet your objective in terms of yields, which means you can't sell yield, Anyway, but you've borrowed. Yeah. And Kenyans were very good payers. That's why we have a lot of mobile lending solutions. So this lady, this gentleman, will pay, but they probably won't hit the principal. They'll pay quite a bit. Yeah. They'll probably borrow 18K, but probably end up paying, I don't know how many X's. Probably close to a sock, 100K. Yeah. Let me ask you. Let me tell you. It's true. It's like the mobile phone, the mobile phone lending. The one that guys borrow and pay per day for the phone or the motorbike. Yes. Do you know they pay twice the motorbike? Yeah, no, it's true.
It's messed up.
It's messed up.
Yeah.
So, again, I have not interacted with Apollo, so I don't know what their mathematics look like. However, what it seems is they're selling debt to somebody else. God willing, that other person does not put in another interest rate, higher rate. That's number one, which I don't know what the papers look like. So that's their thing. However, it means that now they're freed up cash to lend again. So the question here, because again, we don't want to be judge, jury, and executioner. Their business is their business. Yeah. The question here, and I've always asked all these, the Apollos, the Wanikas, all these other guys, what is the true measurement of impact? What, for them, if I was sitting next to somebody from Apollo, what is the true measure of impact? And what do you feel consciously in terms of, are you helping this farmer move from an eighth to half an acre to an acre to 2 acres to mechanization to blah, 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 all these other things? Now, the question becomes also now, which is a bigger conspiracy theory, is how many agribusinesses in Kenya know you can raise that kind of money? What makes, and I don't know, I'm in the field, I don't know, I have not felt the impact of an Apollo to a level of a 250 million shilling raise. So again, there are questions here. I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong, but the debt trap, same as mobile lending for some companies and stuff, is real. That one we can't. That one now is no, it's true. It's true. All of us have either somebody who works in your home, the guard and stuff, who, yes, they have access to mobile phones and stuff like that, but then they are paying daily, and sometimes they can't afford that. And still, I think they have that. There's a gas for paying for, you pay per use. There's your tokens.
It's just crazy, yeah? It's a debt-trapped society. Yeah. It's not a good place to be. When I listen to you reading, and for me, I think it benefits the lender. It will never benefit the receiver in any way. It's not going to help production. It's not going to improve production. It's just going to, like Kevin said, it's going to strap the farmers in more debts. For me, what really works for small-scale farmers, who are 80% of the people who support our food chain in Kenya, it's cooperative societies. Those things are very important. Like every group of people doing something need to be able to build a cooperative society amongst themselves. Because that way, they have a way of lending within themselves. If I walk to my circle, if I do milk, I'll walk to those organizations, those circles for cooperatives for milk, they'll even give you maize jam. Before mwisho wa mwezi ifike, they'll give you salts. You know, like all the cash, zile vitu zinataka cash, the cooperative society is going to give you. And the interests are friendly. Easy, sama simu easy. Oh my goodness. I don't know, and it's like a gambling. You know, the gambling has choked this economy. Every radio station and media house, they're making money through those gambling things they're calling betting. The same is these debts. So now they've gone for the Buddha people, they've gone to for the foreign people, now they come for the farmer. This is another trap. And I would encourage farmers to stay away from such. Be able to build a society amongst yourselves. Then you can borrow within. It's very affordable, and the risks are lower. And then you have a collateral of your produce. Mahindi yangu, mbuzi yangu, maziwa yangu. You see, but this, I think Kenya is a very good market for debt now, and it's choking the hell out of every Kenyan. And they are, it's not 10% of Kenyans that are rich. So over 90% of Kenyans are in that bracket of people poor, low middle class, upper middle class, all struggling to go up, Let me say something, Brian. I've been a farmer, and I've seen, and I've walked this journey of farming, and I see motivational speakers on podcasts, I made my first million. It's never easy. It's never easy as they tell you on the podcast. It's not a place you resign to go. It's not something you pick a huge loan. I tell people, don't pick a huge loan to go do farming. You're messing yourself up, So farming, it's not something you pick loans to pump money into farming. There's a lot of factors that are not in your control, like rain. You're not controlling rain. Na ushachukua loan unangoja mvua inyeshe.
I was wondering in terms of, you asked about like the impact, what kind of impact, and I was sitting here as the CEO of Apollo, like numbers, right? If I walk to an investor and I'm like, okay, I have 23,000 farmers who already trust my products. So that says I'm doing something in the ground, right? So an investor will look at that and they will be like, oh, okay, kudos. That's really, really good work. And I was looking at the numbers. So if you take, so far they say they have 23,000 farmers and an average of 18,000 Kenya shillings. So if you do that math, that's about a debt portfolio of about 400 million Kenya shillings. So these are the different amounts that farmers owe Apollo, right? And they went to that and they said we need about 60% of this money. So that's why they are getting about that 276 million of cash from the investors. So if you're looking like strictly from a numbers point of view, then you will say, okay, I think this makes sense. But as you were saying, it makes me feel a little bit lazy, in a way, because I was born here, I've grown up here, I've seen these problems that the farmers are going through. Why can't me and you sort of build such a product and take it to the market? I think there was a time we were talking about Renta Mzungu. So if you start a company and you have like a Mzungu in your board, you're more likely to get money or get funding for your startup.
But it's so interesting. Thank God you brought that up. I was watching another podcast, and they were saying we shouldn't feel bad about it, about the let a fair-skinned person into the picture to be able to get. So this person brought this analogy and said, if you're employed World Bank, they're in DC, right? That's their HQ. And you're a hiring manager for a certain whatever. Then 3 applicants come. Pretty good. 1 is Kenyan. Where will your bias go? Kenya? Yeah. But you see, you're in the States, right? These three people have pretty much the same qualification. So you're not over, even if the Kenyan is, but they can pass your bias. So they were saying, in this context of investors, the investors come from the European and the American world, right? This gentleman or this lady going to pitch, and an African guy going to pitch. Who do you expect the IC committee in some of these organizations to back? In terms of, no, they're going to the Jungu.
I know they will go for diversity.
No. You see, the diversity is already there in the terms of this lady or this gentleman.
Oh, okay.
This white gentleman lady is being backed by probably a blackboard, or there's a mixture here. But because they have gone to pitch, the initial human bias will just be like, let me give this Jungu or whatever it is, because, oh, you went to school in Nini? Yeah, me too. You went to school in Brown's College? Yeah, I know. What team? Kansas City Chiefs? Yeah. There's a level where they can connect that you can't connect. And I was just like, by the way, your story, it's dead to me. It is what it is, because now, what are you going to say? Yet, our institutions here, our banks, homegrown, all that stuff, they won't still give you the money, and they can relate. It's tough. It's like a no-win situation where you're just like... But then the reverse thing is happening also. I realized the other day, there's a project we're doing with some institution from Europe. And they asked me, would you like to sit in this panel? We are raising money for some grant, blah, blah, blah. So now I became the diversity and local expert in this situation, which I said only 2 words. So I'm just like, for once, my skin has brought me to the table. Yeah. No, but I understood what they were doing, and I wasn't pissed off. I was like, in this world, you have to do whatever you need to do. And by the way, a week, the grant was offered. I was just like, my expertise worked. And I'm just like, you know what, it's okay. Then I was joking with a friend of mine, I was like, ile siku na mimi nitasema, you guys, I'm going to a pitch. You just log in. You're in 2026. Watch my feelings, Kando. If you want to succeed, it's an unfair world. Yeah. And people need to know it's an unfair world. Yeah. If you sit and just cry about it, you'll cry forever. And it's so unfortunate. So just to have to get up, I was telling you guys, so I'm going to Nigeria, I'm going to Gambia. There are some business opportunities in farming, in biodiesel, in a potato plantation in Nigeria we're going to look at doing, and stuff like that. But for me, it's that, why not? Yeah. you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Why not? Why should somebody else fly from a different continent and go do it there?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I was actually thinking, so let's say someone comes to you, they have like a contract of, say, hey, Tukalime, you guys, I need you to produce for me, 500 kgs of maize? Mm-hmm. What is your thought? Like, how do you go through that? What kind of variables are you looking at? Are you looking at the land that you're going to buy? Or like the labor, the capacity? What are some of the things you look at before you embark in such a huge project?
No, we're looking at everything in terms of the cost of production, first of all. So is the price that they're telling me that they want me to supply at making sense? That's number one. Because we lease land, everything for us is leased. So it's very easy to cost it very quickly. Yeah. The other thing nowadays, what we do, and it's also because we've taken time and you understand the axis of risk and stuff like that. There's some contracts currently, we don't move until we get down payments. Okay. Yeah. Because... Like 50%? No, not necessarily. 30, 40%. But you have to have some skin in the game. Because you, sitting in your boardroom, if you change your mind, what happens? Me, I've gone there, I've sold my kidney to come grow for you maize. Yeah. No. Oh, but also there are other ways. We've done down payments, we've done bank guarantees that you'll buy, because I can go to the bank and be like, look, in fact, not only I have a customer, but they have given, because a bank guarantee is them, they have put money, their bank is saying, we shall pay. That means their money has been ring-fenced for you. So when you deliver, hakuna ati procurement, mtu ati procurement ayuko, it's 24 hours you're paid. There's that. We've also spoken to some companies where we're saying, okay, fine, your policy is not down payment, which is okay, fine. But then because of your size and your balance sheet, talk to Kenya Seed or whoever it is. We need seed on consignment. Yeah,
once you know people, then these things tend to make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get an easier flow of things. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think there's a lot of money in small-scale farmers. Maybe me and you should make more effort to try and solve these problems. And maybe we might be raising, who knows, 200 million in the next few years. But I think there's also a lot of headruns that you need to burn fast. which a lot of African founders don't have. You might guess these guys burned, let's say, 100 million to get to those 23,000 farmers.
100%.
Yeah, so they now have the leverage of having the data of these small-scale farmers, and then so they can go out and then leverage that data and say, please give us money, this is what we have done so far.
And remember, the investor also has done their hesabu.
Yeah.
By the time they are getting the 276 back plus profit, they know these 23,000 farmers will pay X for X amount of time and will be able to give us back our money. It's not, there's no, as wanasema, si kazi ya karai. They do know what they're doing.
All right. That was very interesting. I want us to look for our last story, I think. I want us to go to an international story and talk about why US farmers are actually rejecting multi-million dollars for data centers. So the story is from The Guardian, and it says, when two men knocked on Ida Huddleston's door last May, they carried a contract worth more than $33 million in exchange for a Kentucky farm that have fed their families for centuries. According to Huddleston, the man's client, which was an unnamed Fortune 100 company, this comes as a result where more than a dozen of our neighbors have received the same knock. Searching public records for answers, they discovered that the new customer had applied for a 2.2 gigawatt project from a local power plant, which nearly doubled its annual generation capacity. The unknown company was building a data center. So the guy said, you don't have to buy me out. I am not for sale. Leave me alone. I am satisfied. Huddleston, who is 82 years old, later told the men. So in fact, it came to be discovered that 30 to 40% of the data center's total electricity bill does not even go to computers. It actually goes for cooling and overheating. Yeah. So it looks like the tech giants have a lot of money to spend.
When many people don't know what this business of data centers, AI, digitization is all about. It is going to be fighting for resources that human beings need. People do not know that aspect. So when, say, like Microsoft came here in Kenya, they wanted to put up a data center. We didn't even have enough electricity on our national grid to feed the data center with electricity first. Hatuna ya kutosha. So that shows you the massive amount of energy data centers will be needing. That already is a strife between human beings and data centers. That's a discussion people have not had. And when we tell Kenyans that that's just one of them, for the data centers to run, to be able to cool the data centers, the entire water feeding Nairobi will need to flow to the data center. People, it doesn't need that. Yes, it needs that and even much more water. So, and this is, there are things that we predicted 10 years ago, 20 years ago. People think you're crazy, you're not normal. But this is the reality. They just don't need water. They need fresh water. Please. They just don't need, not treated water. It needs water that naturally cools, heats. That's natural water. So the Kenyan government, for instance, has not even satisfied water in this country. I've done a round in the entire country on political meetings. And I was shocked to learn the biggest problem in this country is actually water. There is no county I have gone to that does not have a water problem, including Mount Kenya, including Nyeri County, including Meru County. The problems differ. When you're in Mount Kenya region, they want water for irrigation. You know the way they tap water from Mount Kenya, those streams, wanataka walime na maji. Actually, hata wakiongea na member of parliament, si tunataka maji ya kulima, achape maji kwa dhara sababu ya ng'ombe, achape maji kwa mboga zake. At least huku Mount Kenya, they have the domestic water use. Go to Kajiado. Oh my goodness, it's hell. Go to Nyanza. So we are in a situation whereby we've not satisfied water for human beings, and now we have to start thinking of getting water for AI centers and data centers. You saw our president the other day, and he said there is this ship Melly coming to coast with power, so they're going to plug in that power to a national grid. I don't know if you saw that, because they need to actualize a data center here in Kenya, and it's a crisis. If you see, this is one case in America. There's so many court cases right now in America about people locals suing against data centers. We've discussed water, we've discussed land, we've discussed power. We've not discussed the radio effect in the environment. We've not talked about that. So imagine such mega centers. What is going to happen to the entire ecosystem of life? Birds, animals, human beings. The effect is huge.
Let me ask, is it a case of technology advancing quicker than we can even catch up with effects, needs? Because I think we all have with AI. I mean, I use ChatGPT every day. And the thought process of what it's causing, we're not catching up. You know.
Yeah. And the other conversation we've not had, it's convenient, but to meet the prices we're about to pay are way higher than the benefits you're getting out of this. I've seen now, and they call it the water, is it the water organization, whatever runs water in Kenya, they are now scouting natural water sources. They came into my locality the other day, and people have been inboxing me. I didn't take it serious. I live in Kabete constituency. A lot of sources of Nairobi River comes from Kabete, Kiambu County. A lot of the swamp in Kikuyu, streams that come from the slopes of Limuru. We have a natural water spring that springs from my neighborhood. Ile maji flow to, in a spring to kwa ground, in a flow to, farmers do vegetable. Actually, all the vegetables nakuja Gikomba are farmed on such streams. And water organizations like, say, the Ngecha Water Group, they come tap water, pipe to the people, bill them. So this organization that runs the water came to the source of the stream. And you know what they say? They say they're piping the water from the source. And farmers have been told they need to step away from the stream 15 meters, because they want to do a super pipe. So from the source, all the way where Kiambu County is connecting with Nairobi County, no one is going to use that water. They're using mega pipes, so there's no overflow. They're taking everything. So what am I trying to say is that we've not had the entire conversations around data centers. And finally, apart from the water, apart from the power, apart from the effect, we don't control that data. So the fact that we will not control data is literally handing over populations to AI owners, the multinationals, the Microsoft. And I like the case studies that you're looking at, what's happening in America. Farmers are coming up, locals are coming up, and you're going to court and saying, you know what is for the human race? What is for human beings? If you've not satisfied the human race, then you have no business tapping the water to the data centers. And I'm sure this conversation next year is going to be a very different conversation because so much is happening.
Actually, this is one thing that I actually also got to learn. I didn't know about is the issue of water, how much water data centers need to cool. Yeah, apparently it's a lot of water. And I was looking at it in terms of like a large, like a mega AI data center, the amount of water it needs. And they're saying it may need up to 19 million liters per day for it to cool its data center. So if you were to put that in perspective, that is water you'll need for about a 250 hectare farm to irrigate every single day. Yeah. So, but the point is, they need a lot of water, and I guess, as you were saying, they were going to have a conversation, reach a point where we have a conversation between resources for human beings and resources for data center. And I think that's where the conversation is going to get really, really hard. You get a place where you're used to using ChatGPT, and when someone says maybe you won't have access it from maybe 8 a.m. to 12 noon because the data center can't cool itself, and you're like,
how am I going to survive? Yeah. In fact, at first I thought it's something that will not affect us, but when you looked at Microsoft wanted to set a data center here in Naivasha,
We didn't qualify.
yeah, we didn't qualify. But
They
then,
moved it
if you
to
look at
yeah,
the
we didn't have that.
bigger picture as well, that area the Maasai's also come to grace, right? So that piece of land. So that means maybe Maasai's can no longer be invited to such a place to graze. The water that is being used, where are they gonna dispose it to?
And it's going to be poisoned water. After it exits the data centers, it's poisoned water. It's water with a lot of radiation already. So, and they're going to let it go downstream. So we are going to, there's a serious conversation right there. Are we going to kill an ecosystem of fish, of frogs, of what, of snakes? Everything depends on water. You know, it's a whole conversation right there. And I think in the next 1 or 2 years, we will be looking at the details of these things.
Because sometimes we wonder if the people who, when during the internet boom and stuff like that, there were issues and risks then that we overcame. So I wonder if we are also going to overcome this situation.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm sure we'll get used to it, and then everybody will be like, it's all right, it's okay, and the world moves on. You wrote an article in the Nation, I think a 3-part series. I think we have to finish it there. But it was a really, really interesting article that you wrote there. You talk about sowing the seeds, weeding, the harvest, and some of the stories that you've learned in the process so far. In your experience so far, what do you think, what has life taught you about yourself, about your work, and some of the interactions that you've had with people so far?
Every year, I usually have like not a mantra, but like one word that can sum up the year or your experience and stuff, right? There were years of discovery. There were years of elevation. This year is looking like a year of gratitude. Actually, a part of last year going into this year, and that's because the amount of work that we've done over the years. I don't want to say that it's becoming easier now, because you can walk into rooms and have conversations, and even the conversion of from conversation to contract is faster, you know. So there's a lot of gratitude, because you know how many guys are losing jobs. Corporate guys are losing jobs. Guys are going through so much. So you have to have that sense of gratitude in terms of you can be able to forecast the next couple of months when some people can't, right? You become a little bit insulated in some of the shocks that earlier on could have, taken you out, So yeah, that's what I've learned. But I've also learned in terms of relationships are everything. You could have zero in your account, but because of relationships, the lights will stay on.
Yeah, interesting. Do you also have like usually a yearly reflection of some of the...
I'm really learning from Kevin, like one word to sum up your year. Wow, that was like one word to sum up your year. To me, I would say is the strength. Like, you didn't know the strength that you have, what you can actually go through and still overcome and still get better and still not like flourish, like thrive, So to me, that strength is hidden when you've not been through those situations. But once you're in those situations, you're like, oh, I can actually do this. I can actually thrive in those hard situations. And now I'm here thinking, we are half the year. Yeah, so I'm now building what's my word for this year. What's my word for this year? Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have those reflections. And I guess they come when you're in the game, like you're building something. That's when things doesn't go right, and it forces you to sort of take a back and get to reflect on some of the things that you've done so far. My favorite quote from your article was that you said farming is hard. Let no one lie to you. It is one of the most unforgiving pursuits if you are ill-prepared or have committed. If your heart is not in it, my honest advice is do not proceed.
100%.
I just say that is...
We will usijaribu. I mean, it's not one of those things you say, you notice some pests and you say, "Nitanunua kesho." Kesho. It's not coming. You know, if you're doing it for, you know, I keep saying the romantic side of farming, you want to post on IG and do all those things, do a kitchen garden. Just do a kitchen garden and you'll be fine. But if you're, you know, as Mary was saying, if you've borrowed from friends and family plus SACCO and bank, yeah, you know, you need to have some, you know, whether it's raining or not and stuff, you have to be there. You know, yeah. So a lot of people get burnt, and if you go back to their story, they were either ill-prepared with information, ill-prepared capital-wise, ill-prepared in terms of motivation. So then, with those three factors involved there, it's disastrous.
No, you must love it. You can't do farming if you don't love it. Oh my God, you just have to. You have to love it so passionately that even in those hard moments, you still show up.
All right. Thank you guys for making time for this conversation. I think I've enjoyed it very much. Guys who will be watching it, I guess will have received a lot of value from your perspective as well. If someone wants to get in touch, you can also share with them.
Yeah, definitely. Email is kevin.kamau@tukalime.com. LinkedIn, it's kevin.kamau. You don't need me on IG, but if you do find me, DM me. We can always chat.
Okay, cool. Mary, I guess a lot of people know where they can find, and if they want your book as well, they can.
Oh yeah, you can Nuria at Kibanga.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast conversation. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Till the next one, remember to be organic.
Thank you.
Cheers.